That's 5 in favor. All those opposed, that's 1 opposed. The motion stands approved. The next item on the agenda is item 8. It's a resolution, again, it has no number. I'll read the title. A resolution directing the city manager to modify the financial accounting software of the city and the instructions to the financial institution holding the city's deposits to change the checking account signature authority on the city's account as is necessary to reconfigure the facsimile signature of the authorized checks to be distributed from the city on the facsimile signature of the city treasurer and the city manager, and authorizing the city manager to execute such documents as are necessary to reflect this change in authority. In a nutshell, this resolution, currently the city clerk and the city manager's signature appear on all City of Snellville checks. As I said before, that's a checks and balance. The checks are issued by Ms. Burke, our controller, and then the city clerk and city manager sign them. This would change the names appearing on checks of that of the city treasurer, who council has previously said would be Ms. Burke, and the city manager, so that Ms. Burke, as a controller, would also issue and sign the checks.
Mayor,
yes.
I'd like to correct that. That is not the intention of this at all. The intention is, since Melissa is resigning, to take her signature off, and I fully intend to add the new city clerk's signature on there.
It says to add the signature of the city treasurer in the resolution, in the body of the resolution, which previously was appointed as Ms. Burke.
My intention is to put the city clerk's signature on there.
Okay. Is there a motion by council then?
Yes, your Mayor. I make a motion to approve the resolution directing the city manager to modify the financial accounting software of the city and the instructions to the financial institution holding the city's deposits to change the checking account signature authority on the city's account as is necessary to reconfigure the facsimile signatures of authorized checks to be distributed from the city on the facsimile signature of the city treasurer and the city manager, and authorizing the city manager to execute such documents as are necessary to reflect this change in authority.
So for clarification, Councilwoman Bender, your motion is for, as the resolution reads, to include this, to amend the signature to be the city treasurer's signature.
I will amend it to say the city clerk. Is that, can I ask the attorney and just make sure we're on point here?
Here's my understanding of the reason it's written that way. The administrative functions of the finance of the city have been adjudicated to be separate from those previously by what I think is court ruling. The position that we describe as city treasurer would have to be a new position with job description of responsibility. Its purpose is to do the check and balance from the auditor of the to make sure that the person, the comptroller, who is actually performing the function of writing the checks, it has a check and a balance to it. And this becomes an administrative appointment. There would be a position authorized by this called city treasurer. I think it's Mr. Sanders' intent in that administrative function to appoint the clerk into that slot as a check and balance but it would not require charter changes or amendments in order for the city manager to administer that department.
Mr. Powell, you're backtracking from what we've previously said, because the city treasurer already exists under the current code with duties and descriptions. I understand that there's been a first reading to repeal that, but then there already has been a reading where the city treasurer has been named as the controller, Ms. Burke.
I don't think so. And here's the difference, Mayor. All of those items that are in the first read of the ordinance are really from it's really 2003 charter. They're all wrong. They are, every one of them are no longer applicable, including that city treasurer designation in that code. You don't operate that way. That's not your practice. That's not what Ms. Arnold has been doing in terms of her job responsibility. So we're doing away with all of the conflicting terms with the charter in that area. Now, your real administrative functions are all cast on the city manager under the charter provision. He designates those positions. He appoints those parties. And so this is just taking that old definition of a name and putting it into a new place for the city manager to obviously prepare a description to the extent it needs to be done and make the appointment to that as a director level kind of appointment. So,
Mr. Powell, the very first resolution that was passed tonight says, whereas the mayor and council have separated the duties of city treasurer from those of city clerk with the appointment of the administrative office, which is currently held by Jan Burke. Are you telling me that that was not an appointment of Ms. Burke as city treasurer?
it is not. It
Okay.
is not. Those duties have been with Mrs. Burke all along. I mean, it's been years since you
Delegated by
actually had a
Ms.
function.
Arnold as city treasurer to Ms. Burke, who in our organizational chart reported to Ms. Arnold.
Ms. Arnold, I don't believe that Ms. Arnold has the class of role and responsibility as the city manager. The city manager has to do all of those designations. Now, Ms. Burke holds, if you look at the list of what you are deleting with the amendment, those are primarily functions that are done by Mrs. Burke as the controller. We just have an out-of-date code provision, just like the one with city attorney says the mayor and council appoint. That's no longer true. You have the one that says the mayor and council appoints the city clerk. Those are no longer true. None of these are accurate representations. So that's not your practice now. It's not the way you've been doing it. This resolution will line you up so that your director level folks, you have the checks and balances on the financial controls. It does give you a third view. It operates, if Mr. Sanders chooses to do it that way, exactly like you're operating now, with the city clerk actually performing that function of city treasurer underneath the city manager's position. So that's the purpose of it.
As we operate now, so you're saying as it stands now, the city clerk is the city treasurer?
No. The city clerk.
Then who is
as
the
you-
city treasurer currently?
As you operate now, the job performance that is outlined under that code provision, and let's be specific about it because it's in the deletion section.
As we operate
It's
now,
receive, it says it receive all money due to city council.
Mr. Powell, you're skipping over the question that I'm asking you. Currently, 2-205 says city clerk / city treasurer, correct?
It does.
Okay, and so you're telling me the council today or previously has attempted by resolution to change the ordinance to separate the position of city clerk and city treasurer.
If you will allow me
Let me
to
finish my question.
respond.
Let me finish my question. Who is currently the city treasurer?
Here are the responsibilities.
I'm not asking about the responsibilities, I'm asking about the person. Who currently is the city treasurer?
There is no one person that does these functions. You've
Okay.
not operated that way for years.
Okay,
It's-
but because those functions have been delegated, but the city treasurer has delegated those functions to different staff people. So who is the city treasurer that
city-
has delegated those
The
functions?
city clerk does not allocate those functions. The responsibilities for these things, and just listen to them. It's receive all monies due the city council, including taxes, and pay out such money only upon orders passed by the city council and signed by the mayor, or in his absence, the mayor pro tem. Now that's a function that's done through your comptroller, really. I mean, she's the one who's actually receiving the checks, making the deposits, and writing, and actually publishing the checks. That says city treasurer, but it's actually the comptroller under your current. Keep a book of accounts showing all money received on behalf of the city and the source and disposition thereof, which book shall be open for a public inspection. Again, that's a comptroller function. She's the one
So,
printing your
Mr. Powell,
book.
we're getting way off track here. What I'm hearing is a
This is
comptroller
not-
is
it's
the
dead on, Mayor,
Mr. Powell.
to
The issue is
answer
the
the
signature.
question.
The issue is the signature, and we're authorizing the city treasurer's signature to appear on checks. I'm trying to figure out who whose signature is going to appear on checks. Who is the city treasurer going to be? Not who's doing these functions, but who is the person whose signature is going to appear on the checks?
That would be a position, that would be a staff position under the charter, under your administrative department that's selected by the city manager.
And so currently, who is that person?
Currently, that
these
person
job
is
descriptions-
Melissa Arnold.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
She is not the city treasurer.
She's not the city treasurer, but she is currently designated by the city manager for her name to appear on the checks.
That's right. Now, that's the only function. Now, that's not listed in section 2-205.
All right.
That's not a power
Thank
that's
you,
in there.
Mr. Powell.
Point of order, Mayor, I've made a motion. I affirm my motion again without any amendments. There is not a second on the floor right now. If we could get back on track and receive a second. and
Thank
then
you,
move to
Councilman
vote.
Bender. Is there a second to her
Second.
motion? Is there any further discussion by the council? Seeing none, I will open the agenda item up for public comment. Anyone wanting to speak for or against this agenda item? I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by raising your right hand. That's 5 in favor. All those opposed, 1 opposed. The motion stands approved. Item number 9, discussion, consideration, action on acceptance of the settlement agreement reached in Couts versus Bender, etc. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Let me get it so I can read it right. Do you have it? Where's the resolution? This would be resolution number 2014 number to be filled in, agreeing to the settlement agreement that was signed by all parties on June 20th, 2014.
Mr. Emanuel, there is not a resolution for this agenda item. At least I have not received a resolution. Mr. Powell, is there
Says,
another
whereas-
resolution you've prepared? Because I don't have it in my documents.
I've got one here.
Whereas on June 20th, settlement agreement entered into the case, is that? would that
Yeah,
be-
then pending in Superior Court of Gwinnett County in an action styled Couts v. Bender et al., Civil Action File 14-A-00747-10, which provides for a special called meeting on June 26, 2014.
This is not the resolution for this agenda item, Mr. Emanuel. This was for a previous agenda item. I don't believe there is a resolution. There is the actual settlement agreement, but there's not a resolution for this. Mr. Powell, I've got it.
Your Honor,
I've got it, Mr. Powell. Please sit down.
I-
I'm going to explain it. It's okay.
Could I say just one thing?
It's okay.
I would like. for-
It's okay. I will recognize them at the appropriate time, but first I'm going to get through a motion. Mr. Emanuel, there is not an actual resolution. There's the actual settlement agreement. Would you like to read it into the record, or I could do so?
But I have a resolution sitting right here in front of me.
That was for the signature.
No, this was for the signature. This is a resolution to accept the settlement.
No, that does not go to the settlement.
It
This talks
says-
about, this is not the language of the settlement. This is additional language talking about execution of documents.
Oh, this is the right one. I apologize.
So again, Mr. Emanuel, would you like to read the settlement into the record, or would you like me to?
You can read it.
Thank you. Settlement agreement. This settlement agreement, hereinafter the agreement, is made and entered into this 20th day of June, 2014, by and between Kelly D. Couts, hereinafter the plaintiff, and Barbara Bender in her official capacity as council member, City of Snellville, Dave Emanuel in his official capacity as council member, City of Snellville, John Bobby Howard in his official capacity as council member, City of Snellville, Diane Krause in her official capacity as council member, City of Snellville, Thomas Witz in his official capacity as council member, City of Snellville, James Butch Sanders in his official capacity as acting city manager, City of Snellville, and Melissa Arnold in her official capacity as acting city clerk, City of Snellville, hereinafter the defendants, in the City of Snellville, Georgia, hereinafter the intervener. Witnessed, whereas plaintiff filed a complaint against the defendants in the Superior Court of Gwinnett County in an action styled Couts v. Bender, Civil Action File Number 14A-00747-9. Whereas plaintiff and defendants and intervener, hereafter collectively the parties hereto, desire to fully and finally compromise and settle the issues presented in that action, subject to the terms outlined herein, reserving only the issues of plaintiff's claim for attorney fees for trial. Now therefore, in consideration of the mutual promises, agreements, and benefits outlined herein, and other good and valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency of which is hereby acknowledged, the parties hereto agree as follows. Number 1, the parties herein, in order to prevent further expense to the taxpayers of the City of Snellville, agree to dismiss the complaint and counterclaim in this case, and without admission of liability further agree to the following terms. This is a compromise reached jointly by all of the parties in an effort to avoid continued litigation. Number 2, the parties agree that James Butch Sanders may continue to serve as city manager through December 31st, 2015, pursuant to the terms outlined in Plaintiff's Exhibit 3 from the trial of this case. Number 3, James Butch Sanders shall resign his position effective December 31st, 2015. At that time, nothing in this agreement shall prohibit him from being nominated and confirmed for further service pursuant to the city charter, section 3.14A. Number 4, the parties hereto further agree that the city manager or his designee shall immediately provide the plaintiff key card access to the first floor of City Hall, subject to GCIC and NCIC regulations, and the second floor of City Hall. Number 5, the defendants and intervener agree not to use nor cause to be used the facsimile signature of the plaintiff without the mayor's express permission. Number 6, the plaintiff shall have the ability at a special called meeting on June 26, 2014, to appoint a city clerk pursuant to the current city charter, section 3.13, as amended by Home Rule Ordinance 2010-05. Number 7, plaintiff agrees that defendants have not violated the Open Meetings Act as alleged in the complaint. Number 8, the parties hereto agree that the terms set forth herein shall in no way be construed as an admission of liability on the part of any party to the other, which liability is expressly denied. Number 9, the rest of this is legal talk. Number 9, the parties hereto intend for this agreement to be severable. It is mutually agreed that if any paragraph, subparagraph, phrase, or wording, or other portion thereof shall be construed to be illegal or invalid or unenforceable for any reason, such portion shall not affect the legality or validity or enforceability of the other provisions of this agreement. 10, the parties hereto represent and acknowledge that in executing this agreement, they do not rely and have not relied upon any representation or statement made by the other or by any agent, representative, or attorney of the parties hereto with regard to the terms of this agreement, basis, or effect of this agreement. This agreement contains the entire agreement between the parties hereto, and the terms hereof are contractual and not mere recitals. The parties hereto further agree that no waiver, modification, or amendment of this agreement shall be valid unless it is in writing and signed by the parties hereto. 11, the parties hereto represent and warrant that they have not heretofore assigned or transferred or reported to assign or transfer to any person or other entity any claim or portion thereof or interest therein, which is subject of this agreement. This agreement shall be binding upon all the parties hereto and upon their heirs, administrators, representatives, executors, successors, and assigns. 12, this agreement is made and entered into in the state of Georgia and shall in all respects be interpreted, enforced, and governed under the laws of said state. 13, the parties hereto acknowledge that they have read and fully understand all the provisions of this agreement and that they have voluntarily and of their own free will entered into this agreement. 14, the terms of this agreement will be presented for approval at the special called meeting of the mayor and city council scheduled for June 26, 2014. 15, the parties hereto agree that plaintiff's claim for attorney's fees in the above referenced case has not been settled in this agreement and shall be scheduled for a hearing by the Superior Court of Gwinnett County. 16, plaintiff shall dismiss with prejudice all other claims pending in the case within 3 business days of the approval of the mayor and council as set forth in paragraph 14 above. 17, defendants and interveners, City of Snellville, shall dismiss without prejudice the abated counterclaims filed in this action. In witness whereof the parties hereto set their hands and seals hereunto on the date set forth above, and it was signed last Friday by all of the members of this governing body. Do I have a motion to approve this settlement agreement as read into the record?
Motion to approve agreement as read.
There is a motion by Councilman Emanuel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Kraus. Further discussion? Last Friday, I was sincere in entering into this settlement agreement. I believed it was in the best interest of the city to put this litigation behind us and to move forward. Still stand by my comments earlier today and yesterday that I'm disappointed by this agenda for today's council meeting. I had specially called a meeting for today to simply accept the settlement agreement and to move forward. It was my anticipation that when I returned from Savannah, Mr. Sanders and myself and Ms. Moreland Richardson would sit down and discuss Ms. Moreland Richardson's transition into the city of Snellville. I don't believe that the actions taken by members of this council today were in good faith or in the spirit of the settlement, but I still am naively optimistic that we can move forward with the business of the city. We have so many other issues that are more important that we need to be focusing on. I believe that if the actions taken today by some members of this council continue, though, it will continue to cost the taxpayers of Snellville hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, because this is not what was meant when we said we were going to put everything aside and move forward. I hope we can work together. I hope council will extend an olive branch to Ms. Moreland Richardson. What's so disheartening is that no one has even attempted to talk to her or get to know her before they've reached some of the judgments about her and about her abilities to perform her job. So, Ms. Moreland Richardson, I apologize for that. Ms. Arnold, I apologize for the position you've been put in and want to wish you the best of luck in your future. And obviously, at this point, I still will approve the settlement, although I don't believe the previous actions we've taken were in the spirit of the settlement we just read into the record. I will open the floor up for public comment. If anyone would like to speak for or against the settlement offer, you can come forward now.
Mayor, if I could, Barbara, you want to go first?
If I may just make a comment.
You go right ahead. I'll be next.
The mayor just alluded to that I am sitting here, I'm not going to speak for the rest of council, that I, sitting here, have already made judgments and determinations about Ms. Moreland Richardson, who she is, what her experience level is, and that I've treated her badly are unfounded. I have not, I will be honest, I have not gone out of my way to speak to Ms. Moreland Richardson up to this point, because you have to understand the situation that I, as an individual and a council member, have been put in. Number one, I believed that Ms. Moreland Richardson was unlawfully put into a position where she was not eligible to hold it. I do not blame Ms. Moreland Richardson for that at all. It is not her fault. I think she probably entered into that unknowingly. But the fact is that it happened. As a representative, an elected representative of the citizens of this city, I have a duty to uphold the Constitution, the Charter, and the ordinances of this city. In that same time frame, in January, I was sued. I was sued individually, as a council member, and in my official capacity. So now we're in litigation. Part of those claims were the situation with Moreland Richardson and with our current city clerk. Then, in that same time frame between that lawsuit and this settlement, the city received an anti-litem notice from Ms. Moreland Richardson's attorney suggesting that there may potentially be a lawsuit coming against the city. That puts me in a situation as a non-legal person to not quite know what I can and cannot say, what I should or should not say. It's been a very tough situation. You want to be very nice and polite, and I challenge anyone to say that I have not been to Ms. Richardson. Again, I have not stepped out of my way to speak with her because of all of these other dynamics and forces that have been at play. So if any offense, Ms. Moreland Richardson, has been taken by you that I have treated you badly, I will apologize for that. There is absolutely no active action on my part that I feel like I've done that. And I look forward to you coming on as city clerk, and I look forward to working with you.
Councilman Howard?
A lot of what Barbara just said, I could certainly repeat. However, I want to, if I could, Mr. and Ms. Richardson, I'd like to direct this at y'all. On that January 10th, I was witness to what I believed was a very inhumane parade of people through this city hall that directed some undue hurt at a long-term member of this city and this staff. I did, at the time, standing on the second floor, did not want to engage or interact with any of that group that day. And Reverend Collins, I'll look at you too. I did. And you stood here on that Monday and you accused me of disrespecting you. Well, sir, my contention to you that day, the entire body that came up there in that mode disrespected us. So I stand here today, a lot in the same vein of Barbara, that once the lawsuit started coming, once the anti-litem notices started coming, there really wasn't a whole lot more for me to say. But I'll take my judgment that day on the second floor. And I'll sit here and I'll look each of you in the eye. And I'll tell you I did it. And I'll tell you why I did it. And I won't apologize Maybe I shouldn't have done it, but the situation led me to where I happened to be at that particular moment. And to this day, what should have happened should have never happened, because January the 10th, Ms. Richardson should never have been thrown into a situation like that. Our charter's clear. How we operate the city's clear. My goal and my duty to this city is clear. I will continue to operate that way. I've been nothing but proud of our city. I have been unproud of our city. It cuts both ways. But Ms. Richardson, Reverend Collins, that afternoon, I did not act as I probably could have. So with that being said, that day, that woman sitting right there was treated as inhumane and as black-hearted as I said before the court that I've ever seen anybody in my life be treated. And I never want to see that again from anybody in this hall or any place I travel in the future. Thank you.
Mr.
I have a
Woods?
comment. Go ahead.
Mr. Woods?
Ms. Richardson, to you, I echo what Ms. Bender has said. The council was put in a very difficult position with this. I welcome you to the city. I think that you'll find that you're not going to have any problems within this city. This has never been about you, although the mayor continually tried to make it about you. It was never about you. It was about our charter. It was about the laws that we govern our city by and what was right and what was wrong. I owe that to the people who elected me to sit here. I don't believe that loopholes or trying to match apples and oranges is the way to run a city. I believe we have a charter that tells us how to do it, and that's what we did. That's behind us now. Now you're going to be one of us. You're going to be an employee of the city. I welcome you to that, and I look forward to working with you.
I'm going to echo a lot of what has already been said, but to put it succinctly, this has become personal for some people. It was never personal with me. I don't believe it was personal with anybody else on the council. This is a matter of interpreting the charter. We went through a trial where testimony was given referencing the code. The code is subordinate to the charter. In our agreement, it is stated that the terms of the charter are what we are agreeing to, and that the annual appointment of the city clerk was rescinded in 2010. So this was never about anything but the legality of the appointment. It has nothing to do with the personality involved. It was a misinterpretation, I believe, on the part of Ms. Couts of the charter. Had nothing to do with the personalities involved. We are bound by the charter. I believe it is our duty to uphold the charter. If we have disagreements about what the charter means, they should be discussed before a lawsuit. We were never given that opportunity. But I just want to assure you, I want to extend a welcome to you as well. I would like to move forward with this and reassure you once again, it was never personal. It was about us doing what we're elected to do and doing it properly.
Ms. Kraus?
I've sat on this dais since 2011, and I speak volumes. And I speak to you when I raise my right hand. I may not do a lot of discussion, but I speak volumes up here if you're paying attention. I would like to tell Ms. Richardson that I look forward to working with her, and if she has any questions and I can help her in any way, I hope to hear from her. Thank you.
I have to take exception with some of the comments that were just made. This was supposed to have been behind us last Friday when we entered into this settlement agreement. During the trial, one of the things that came up during, I believe, Councilman Bender's testimony was the city manager contract and how that came before the mayor and council. And although none of the council met at the same time, it went back and forth so that all of council was aware of the contract before it came up on the December 9th, 2013 meeting. And Ms. Bender was asked the question, did you tell the mayor about it before you gave it to her? And the response was no. And that they essentially wanted to surprise the mayor with the city manager's contract. During the settlement negotiations, we discussed the need for healing in the city, the need for better communication, and the need for trust among the mayor and members of council. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And there's been comments that none of the actions today were personal against Ms. Richardson. Well, none of the actions today were necessary except for reaching the settlement agreement. And I want to tell you how this agenda items came up. We were all in Savannah, or the majority of us were in Savannah together this weekend. Councilwoman
Point
Bender.
of order, Mayor.
Councilwoman Bender, this is
have a-
debate.
we
This is
have a
debate.
motion and a
Councilwoman
second.
Bender, this is debate.
Can we
and the-
keep comment on target with the settlement agreement?
I am keeping comment
in
on
this
target.
vote?
Yes, ma'am, I am. And we were all together in Savannah this weekend. Ms. Bender asked me if I would change the time of the meeting from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the time I had originally called it for, till 8:30 because she had a doctor's appointment. I agreed. At no point in time did council ever notify me of these items that they have on the agenda. At no point in time was the agenda I asked, and when I called for the special call meeting, published. I received a copy of this agenda the same time the general public did and the newspaper did when it was emailed out for publication. I received copies of these resolutions last night for the first time at about 11 o'clock. So if council didn't mean to make this personal, if council really wanted to put all of this behind us, they would have communicated this with me and with Ms. Moreland Richardson before they published it for everyone to see on Tuesday evening. This is not in the spirit of the settlement that we reached. This is not putting this behind us. This is continuing the bickering in our city. And this is making it personal against Ms. Moreland Richardson by taking these unnecessary actions today. I hope that council can put this behind us and we can move forward. And I hope that they will be welcoming to Ms. Moreland Richardson in the future. But this is not the way to start the employment of an employee. With that, I will open this up to public comment. If there's anyone that would like to speak for or against the settlement agreement, please come forward.
Marilyn Swinney, 1832 Glenwood Lane, Snellville, Georgia. You know, we wouldn't have even had a settlement if you could have worked with this council. You have spent the taxpayers' money, and you have failed in your fiduciary responsibilities. Ms. Richardson, please do not let the mayor treat you as a pawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sweeney. Additional public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the settlement agreement signify by raising your right hand. Yep.
I'm sad, not because man wants to qualify me. I'm already qualified. The issues that you all have are your issues. My issue is this. The day that I was sworn in, January the 10th, 2014, was a joyous moment for me and my family. I asked my pastor to come because in my faith, we firmly believe that the pastor is our shepherd and we are the sheep. And so I asked my pastor to come to share in that moment with me. My husband, who is a veteran, who served 3 terms in Vietnam, I asked him to come to witness a joyous moment to me. My son, who is a minister in Miami. I asked him to come to witness my accomplishments. Instead of being treated with just respect, regardless of what was right or wrong according to the charter, what was right or wrong according to your city ordinance. I didn't come for that. I came to be treated with respect. There have been members of council who have commented on blogs. I don't comment, I see them. I don't always agree with them. Some of them I do agree with, but I don't comment on them. I have been treated the day that I came here, that I was sworn in and was taken, as it has been said, the gang paraded through City Hall. I was being introduced to individuals. I think the only person who extended their hand to me, and I'm not sure if they knew all of what was going on, but it really didn't matter. It was just the fact that I was being introduced to, was Councilman Bender, and that was when we were downstairs. Councilman Howard, as he said, turned his back to me, my husband, my pastor, my son who's a minister, and said, with the harshest words that he could find, I will have no part of this in a city where everybody is treated like somebody. I didn't ask you to accept the fact that I was appointed, but I did ask to be treated like an individual in a city where everybody is somebody. I have sat in council meetings right here in the front row. Council members have came and talked to somebody sitting right next to me and never even said, well, hi. I didn't ask you to approve it. I didn't even ask you to agree, but you could still say hi. The anti-litem came way after I had been passed and not spoken to on many occasions. And so even Melissa, when I was introduced to Melissa, she and I extended handshake and spoke cordially to one another, but nobody else. I sat here, I hear the whispers, I never comment. I came, I took minutes. I came to every meeting, I showed up every morning. And all I asked was to be treated according to the model of this city, where everybody is somebody. During I'm hardened and I hurt. And I don't hurt because I'm sad. I don't hurt because I don't think I'm qualified. I'm hurt because we are grown men and women, and dogs are treated better than I have been treated. And it's great, and I know I'm going on and on and on, but it's great that you all have taken the moment to apologize to me. And because of my Christian belief and faith, I accept the apology and I extend my apology, but that still does not change facts. And facts are facts, you know? And so, with that being said, regardless of what action the council takes, regardless of what resolution is passed, I am still Phyllis Moreland Richardson, qualified way beyond what you all could ever think that you could qualify me for. My record stands for itself. Nothing has been fabricated, nothing has been made up, nothing has been changed. If anything, things have been left off because I didn't want to make a resume more than 2 pages long. And so with that being said, it's not about Phyllis Richardson taking the job of city clerk, and it's not about Phyllis Richardson not taking the job about the clerk. It's about you searching your soul and seeing if you're right with Jesus Christ.
I'd like to make one comment, please. I don't have much to say. I don't talk too much. 68 years old, Vietnam veteran. I have a son that's a commanding sergeant major in the Army. I have another grandson and a granddaughter serving in the military. So, in my eyes, as a veteran, and I don't know how many of you people have the opportunity to observe the Vietnam movies that they show on TV of the actual things that happened in Vietnam, but I want to let everybody know that I went to Vietnam in 1966 with the 196th Light Infantry Brigade as an infantry. And for you people that don't know, we are trained killers. That's the only thing we do, kill people. I can't sleep at night. My wife had to wake me up sometime. And to come back home, Lord have mercy, and to be treated as such, and to know that my family have dedicated 40 or 50 years to the protection of this country, and to be treated in such a manner by people as we sit here today. You know in your hearts what's going on. There's no need for anybody to tell you. You can say what you want to say, you can do what you want to do, but you know in your heart what is going on. So I just ask you, get your heart right. Get your heart right. Because in Snellville, in Georgia, in the United States of America, things will and must change. Believe it or not.
I'd like to make just one comment based on Ms. Richardson's comments to me and what I said upstairs. If the same scenario happened again with the complete disrespect that I believe I saw, wouldn't matter who the group was, I'd probably feel the same way.
I'll call the question. All those in favor of acceptance of the settlement agreement that was reached in Couts versus Bender signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 in favor. All those opposed, 0 opposed. The settlement agreement stands approved. The last item on the agenda is appointment of a city clerk. I will stand by my previous appointment of Ms. Phyllis Moreland Richardson as city clerk for the city of Snellville. She has previously been given the oath of office, and I will just reaffirm that appointment. This meeting stands adjourned.
Mr. Powell, can I ask just one question?
Mr. Howard, we are in adjournment. The time is 11:43.
There's a question on number 10 that I didn't get a chance to ask before we just railroaded through. Can I ask the
Mr. Howard,
question?
there is no action needed by council. The appointment is solely by the mayor. I reaffirm my appointment I've
Mr.
previously
Powell, I'm gonna
made,
ask you
and
the
Ms.
question.
Phyllis Moreland Richardson has already taken the oath
Since
of office.
that January 10th swearing in seems to be, at that time, was being in question, is it reasonable that it should happen again, or can we, by affirming this, saying that it was legal then or not? That's just my simple question, whether it should be redone based on the tense actions, which clearly should not have been
Mr.
done.
Powell, you're welcome to give your opinion. However, this is an appointment by the mayor, an oath that's administered by the mayor, and so I'm going to do as I see fit, and I'm going to stand by the announcement I just made.
And you know, what you don't want to do is, in terms of oaths and timing and appointments, is not go through the process correctly. And so I don't think it's necessarily a today event, an action item. I think the appointment has been made under that agenda item. We know that Ms. Moreland Richardson is the appointee. And the formalities of that, I would encourage the mayor to reconsider, because the settlement agreement actually fixes it as of today, a beginning date. It was the agreement of the parties not to look back to a previous taking of oath, and it would put everybody at risk in the, you know, even to humorous with that is to give the oath again as of today, so that there is a definitive time period for her taking office. That's consistent with the settlement agreement that the mayor executed. You don't want a gap in that.
If we don't do that, we could be inconsistent, and it could be an issue.
You could have an issue of it.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. We are 11:45. We are in adjournment.